Alrighty boys, Colin here from SVG PCs. I just want to make a quick video, and this is going to be slightly different to my normal style of content, which is kind of more educational and positive. And I just want to rant a little bit about the current landscape of building a computer and how ridiculous the prices are and how mediocre of a computer you get these days compared to, let's say, like 8 to 10 years ago. I remember being 15 or 16 years old when I first got into the idea of building my own computer. Back then, even though I was making practically no money, I was working part-time, making about €6 an hour, I could still afford a very decent PC after a pretty short period of time, and I could play all the games, the AAA games that were coming out at the time. And now when I look at the current pricing of graphics cards and even things like motherboards and RAM, it's just ridiculous, you know? Like, just to put it into perspective, I spent more money on the RAM that's in my computer now than I did on my first ever graphics card. Brand new graphics card as well, not secondhand. I just want to go over the reasons for this happening. There's a multitude of factors, obviously, you know, increase in the prices of everybody's bills and inflation and all these things. But also there's specific things that are going on within the PC realm that are causing prices to go up rapidly as well. You probably know this already, but Nvidia's focus on AI has been a massive proponent of the reason that graphics cards are so expensive. There is no more incentive for Nvidia to create budget cards, to create good value for money, because majority of their profits are no longer coming from graphics cards anyway. It's all coming from AI. And we've seen that with their latest releases. You know, you take a look at the 5090, it's $2.5 grand for a 5090, which is just absolutely ridiculous. If you take a look at maybe like 8 years ago, the 1050 Ti, it released at an MSRP of 700 quid. Now 700 quid is still a lot, but this is top of the line, remember? And now when we look at top of the line is now significantly over double that amount of money, nearly triple. Actually is triple. It's over triple. Oh, I'm depressed now. Oh god. You actually can't make that up. That's ridiculous. And you can't tell me that in less than 10 years, inflation has caused the prices of everything to triple. It may feel that way, but the prices of PC components has outpaced inflation by like quite a large margin. You might say to me now, oh, well, you don't have to buy an Nvidia graphics card. I know Nvidia is a bad value, but you could buy an AMD card, or you could buy one of the new Intel cards. And to that I say yes, you know, Nvidia, like the 9070 XT is a decent value. But if you take a look at the 9060 XT, it's not particularly better than the 5060. And the 5060 in and of itself is actually a very bad value card anyway. I just don't think AMD has done enough here to provide a significantly better value. It is a better value, but it's a better value than something that's already a bad value. So at the end of the day, you're kind of getting screwed either way here, honestly. You can make the argument that, you know, the new Intel Arc GPUs are a good value, but I personally would never recommend them to anybody just because of the driver issues that they have. If you want a streamlined experience, I don't think you should be going for companies developing new products, unfortunately. You know, if it worked perfectly all the time and there was good driver support for all the new games coming out, I would recommend it in a heartbeat because it's a decent price for what you get. But unfortunately, just because of the way that it is currently working, I cannot recommend it. These super powerful, super expensive cards have also had a knock-on effect with the way that games are being developed. So a lot of the time now, games, new releases, new AAA releases are made in Unreal Engine 5. And Unreal Engine 5 allows developers to rely very heavily on the performance of your graphics card to render the game, which causes them to put less effort into optimizing the game for lower end hardware. And then that causes you to get a worse experience in that game. Yes, it looks great on paper, but a lot of the time now, we all know that the current AAA games are actually just slop most of the time. Yes, they look great visually if you can run them barely on your fucking 5090 and get like 70 FPS at 4K max settings. But honestly, it's just not worth what you get. You know, the value is not there in the game. It's caused a knock-on effect on the games themselves. The games are getting worse. Objectively, they're getting worse, along with the prices of the graphics cards increasing, and those are coinciding. Those are because of each other. you know? The low-end market just doesn't exist anymore. Low-end GPUs just don't exist. I remember, you know, when I built my first PC nearly 9 years ago now, it had a 1050 Ti in it. And the 1050 Ti released at an MSRP of $139 US. Find me any NVIDIA GPU that's releasing at that price, a new one that's releasing at that price, that provides that kind of performance that we saw back then from the 1050 Ti. I remember running Battlefield 1 at medium settings on the 1050 Ti, no problem, getting a very stable 60 to 70 FPS, and it looked beautiful, honestly. For $139. You just cannot find that now. You would struggle to run AAA titles on a 8GB 5060, and the 5060 is over $300. It's honestly a joke, and that's just graphics cards. If we look at motherboards, motherboard prices have been trending up massively. I remember in my first computer, I spent about $60 odd for a B450 motherboard. And now in my current PC, I have a B650. You know how much I had to pay for that? $200 for a bog standard board. You know, this is not like some special high-end crazy motherboard. It's a B650. Same way my first PC had a B450 in it with a first gen Ryzen. But the difference is my motherboard back then was 60, significantly less than half the price. Take a look at RAM prices. Those are going back up again now that they're winding down the production of DDR4. DDR5 is obviously stupid expensive. The RAM in my computer right now, 32 gigabytes of DDR5, that costs more. It was like 130-ish. That nearly costs more than my first ever graphics card. It just makes no sense. I remember I spent like $30 odd on 16 gigabytes of RAM for my first computer. It just makes no sense. SSD prices, I won't complain about those. Those have been steadily coming down over time. That's probably one of the only components that's improved in value over time and consistently gotten better as well for the price. Power supplies, you know, all the extra add-ons, cases even. Cases, I remember my first case was like $25. You know, it was nothing. My current case now didn't even come with any fans in it, and it was like 70. You know, it's just a joke. It's an absolute joke. For the next video, I'm going to go back to the more kind of, you know, happy-go-lucky educational style content. I'm going to do a specific breakdown on very specific price points where the value is the best. So like, you know, you might have a budget of 600, but you might get better value if you go down to 500 and select certain components. It's going to be like that. So there's going to be the best value for money builds at a couple of different tiers of price ranges. Obviously, it's the end of the video. I gotta plug us, SVG PCs. Me and a couple of mates, we've started this business where we build custom computers. We also give advice, and we have a couple of computers that you can buy right now as well. There's actually one behind me over here. We've just built this one recently. If you have a budget and you want us to build you a custom PC where you get good value for money within the budget that you have, despite the current market conditions, we can make it happen. If you need some advice, just if you want to build your own computer and you want some advice from us on, you know, what parts you should buy or how you should put it all together, you can also click this button. We have a Discord server, so if you want to just chat to like-minded PC gamers, you can hop in there. And obviously, like and subscribe. You already know. Column from SVG PCs, out.